Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Grow a Healthy Church Hub. Things are a little bit different here today. We're swapping the shoe around a little bit, whereas today John's going to be our guru who's going to be interviewed by yours truly. So we're sort of looking forward to this. But first of all, before we get into the interview, we need to take a moment to pause and say, John and Di, a massive congratulations to you both on your 40 years anniversary in ministry.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely incredible.
Thanks for that. Yep, 40 years in ministry in February this year, so pretty remarkable. Thank you, Jesus, for helping us to last 40 years in ministry. But yeah, it's been good celebration.
Fantastic. And it's been amazing to watch, obviously, a range of thank yous on the videos over the last couple of days. It's been intriguing and just wonderful to see the history that you have with so many people in the life, not only of your senior leading as a church minister, but obviously also now as Grow a Healthy Church. Incredible.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brian Webber. I'm a pastor of a church down in Devonport, Tasmania, where I've had the privilege of actually hosting John on a number of occasions as a consult. And we've seen incredible opportunities of growth as a result of the things that John has put in place for us. Obviously, an avid user also of the hub, and highly recommend it. As you might notice, it's available free for 14 days entry at the moment. But just recently, John and I had a conversation in light of some of the stuff that comes through with the consult. And here in Tasmania right now, we are the first time now experiencing the impact of COVID. Our government opened the borders literally just before the Christmas season, and we've noticed a fairly significant impact on what is usually, I guess, a time of visitation and new people around. We've noticed that that's actually been not the case for us right now, and struggling to see people who are wondering how to react to this COVID environment we're in. I had a chat with John about this phenomenon and asked him what has he heard or seen across the world. And with some of the things that came out of that conversation, we thought we need to have this conversation in this kind of arena in the hub. So, John, again, what can pastors do? This is a significant opportunity in some ways you've talked about for church growth. So, how can that look like that in this climate?
Yeah, I think for the moment, Brian, as we're coming to, I think the early stages of the post-COVID season. I think it's important to understand for pastors that there is, I think, a significant opportunity for growth in their churches at the moment. I mean, around the globe, churches have dropped anywhere between 10 and 80% in attendance. A whole range of decline of attendance is pretty understandable in the pandemic. And I think the opportunity now is there for pastors to go, all right, benchmark afresh where you are, what your current database is, what your numbers are, just face the reality of that. And then realize that there are, I think, when I think of Australia, I think there are tens of thousands of people who have dropped out of church for whatever reason the last 2 years. They may have been ill themselves. They may have just gotten out of the habit. They may have been disappointed, anxious, depressed, worried, whatever, burnt out, overloaded, overwhelmed. Whole range of reasons why people have dropped out of church. And I don't think if they've really dropped out badly, I think the potential of them going back to their old church is relatively low. It's not impossible, and I think you can do some things around that to happen. But I think there is an opportunity right now. There are, I would say in Australia, thousands of people who've dropped out of church who still love Jesus, still walk with the Lord, still want to know the Lord, still want to have their family in a church community. And I think they're looking for an opportunity to go back to a church. Now, I don't think a huge majority of them will go back to their original church.
Wow.
Because I think also a lot of churches won't reach out to those people that have wandered away for all sorts of reasons. And I think if a pastor gets on the front foot and thinks, you know what? There's probably in my community where I am, and either in my town or my region of a city, there's probably hundreds of people out there who are just waiting for the opportunity to come back to church. And I think it's a good way to frame church growth at the moment for pastors to reach out to, I wouldn't go as far to call them prodigals. I would just say they're disappointed, disheartened people who I think if we reach out to them will win their way into churches. So I think it's a huge opportunity if you frame it in a way and think, you know what, there's at least dozens. Let's work on the low number. There's dozens of people out there that we could reach out to and connect with to get into our church.
It's an amazing observation that we've certainly been experiencing here. So what can pastors do to best capitalize on some of the things you've just talked about, particularly in that range for people who have, you talked about that awkwardness of maybe returning to
Mm,
somewhere if they've been away for a long period of time. What's pastors'
yeah.
best approach at this time?
I think there's a number of things that pastors can do that they're very familiar with doing.
Mm,
Having events that people in the church can easily invite a friend to, or someone at work, or someone they know that's dropped out of church,
yeah,
especially with Easter events, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas events, those kind of big
yeah,
events that we normally make invitational to a great degree. And so I think amplify that, maybe even create a family fun day, a festival day. I know you guys in Devonport are looking at a back to church day, that kind of gives people a chance to go back to church, and maybe even a back to church event for your
wow,
church, reaching out to your community. In other words, create places where people and opportunities for your people to invite someone into an event. And it may be a Saturday breakfast, it may be a Sunday service, it may be a midweek thing, whatever. But I think frame it. Also, have a talk to your church. Talk to your church and be open about it. Look, you may know a family or friends or individuals
so
in
good.
your workplace or in your circle of influence who have dropped out of church. And they probably feel a little bit awkward, a little bit, maybe even a
Mhm.
bit of guilt and shame about having dropped out of church. Take the opportunity to reach out to them. So maybe a bit of training on Sunday on how you reach out to someone who's dropped out of church and is feeling that sense of awkwardness that
Wow.
may prevent them from going back to their original church. So I think pull those levers of events, activities that people can invite to, and also training your church and framing it for your church as, hey, this is a significant opportunity for us to grow and bring people back into the fold who, for whatever reason,
Mm.
have wandered away from regular church attendance. And I think you've done some stuff in this area, Brian. Since we talked, I know what have you done with your guys, your crew, around this whole area?
We've in an opportune time in some ways with each one of the key things that you talked about. So number one, we got hold of our database. We're at the stage of a year for us where we're just getting ready to get our Connect groups launched and up and running for the year.
Mm,
We run a fairly significant campaign around that. And so with all our Connect group leaders, we've got hold of the database list, and literally we're just trying to ensure everyone's connecting with everyone, getting the messages going backwards
wow.
and forwards, helping to celebrate that Connect groups are about to be up and running again, even making phone calls, making visits,
Yep.
even just that good old fashioned follow the leading of the Holy Spirit and just go, who's
Yeah.
God putting on your mind right
Mm,
now? You're interested to talk about one of the adjustments we're making in our service even now is to go, how can we have an evangelistic spot, an evangelistic training spot in our service at least no less
mm,
than once every 2 weeks,
yep.
where it's just a 5 minute moment with someone who's bent that way and really good at it. It's like a confidence factor for them. How can
Mm,
we ensure that passion, that skill, even the confidence is presented from the front? And the third, we're in an opportune time right now where we're actually about to celebrate 15 years of having planted C3 Church Devonport
wow.
and opening a building that we acquired in the last 12 months and actually having an official celebration, so to speak. So each one of those momentums we're putting in place to assist us. We're already hearing some good news stories about people
Oh,
who,
awesome.
had become a little bit disconnected in the process, particularly in the light of the fears and concerns about COVID and the fact that the church is reaching out to them, making those moves. It begins to see them coming back towards feeling like, hey, we still see you as part of the family. There's no hard
Yeah.
feelings about the distance, ensuring that people have a sense that no judgment. We are family. We're all in a different season of how we handle what we're in
Yeah.
right now with
Totally.
COVID. So, and we're very blessed again to have a great crew of people who are really embracing this whole heart to ensure that we're a church that care, love, well, as the Bible puts it over and over again, love one another.
And I think that's the low hanging fruit is the people on your own database who have
Mm,
dropped away. To me, that's the low
yeah,
hanging fruit. They're the people you want to ring, text, reach out to. And as Brian says, Lord will lay someone on your heart that you just need to follow up with and just follow up. To me, that's low hanging fruit. That's not hard to do. It might feel a bit awkward, but go for it because you never know. The phone call, the text, the
oh,
connection you make could be the pathway of people back into the life of your church. Totally true.
fantastic. So, what's in the hub? How could the hub actually be a help to people in this season, John?
Cool. I'll share my screen here, and I think there we go. Share with folks what the Hub is. So the Hub is an online resource center. Been going for about 5 years, jammed with resources to help your church. And this part of the Hub here, I want to develop leaders. Now, there's a whole bundle of elements in the Hub. This is the one that I think really could be helpful to pastors at the moment, because once you jump in there, there's a roadmap on. Oops, I hit the wrong one. I like that area. I want to develop leaders. So here we go. I want to grow my church is the area. And once you get in there, there's a bundle of masterclasses and quick wins and all sorts of resources for you. But the one I just want to touch on today that I think is most helpful is the roadmap. The roadmap is a step-by-step process on how to kind of think through growing your church through visitors, because without visitors, your church will never grow. And so there's all sorts of areas there that can help, especially I would say at the moment, step 5, your digital front door, the whole area of your website and how to get that really functioning well. You'll see there's a video there, there's audio there, worksheets and so on. And I think also probably step 6, your digital front door with social media. Wow. And again, this training is designed just for you to jump straight into it once you're in the Hub. First 14 days are on me, so you can even get in this and utilize this immediately. You can access everything for the first 14 days for 0 cost. And then you can kind of jump into some of these areas and look at, gee, how can I work social media or our website at the moment? Talks a bit about first impressions and so on, church growth window and all that sort of stuff. So the Hub, I think, can probably be a really good tool at the moment, Brian, for pastors and church leaders to jump in there. And I'll put a link in the comments so you can jump in, check out the Hub, and realize that I think now is a significant opportunity for church growth. I think 2022 will be a growth window for every church on the planet as we move out of COVID. So hope this has helped today.
As a local pastor, I have to say I am very excited by that thought and that idea. Again, obviously the seasons that we've seen in the last couple of years for a variety of churches, the stories that we started out with, to think that, again, that there is a return to the church, people, again, starting to feel safe about mixing together again.
Yeah.
As we know, we're built for connection. We are wired in the way that Jesus has created us, wired for connection. So to see that ministry outfolding amongst our members again will be a absolutely beautiful thing. And as a user of the Hub, I must admit, I've got to, again, it's such a great tool. We have done so many variety of training sessions for our teams, how to handle conflict, raising money, the pathways that you've just talked about, all things that has helped us so significantly here at C3 Devonport to be able to have clear steps about what to do next. I think sometimes it's we've got ideas, but knowing the clarity of each step, and the Hub is so good at being able to clarify at each step, obviously by putting together by someone who's had a lot of church leading experience. Thank you, John. It's been a privilege to interview you this in the context. It's great to put it around the shoe, as I said, on the other foot.
Thanks, Brian. It's been fun chatting.
Certainly has. Thank you.
Happy to take any questions. Anyone who's watching live on Facebook, really happy to have any questions. Jump in if you got any questions for Brian. I'll let him take all the questions.
Oh.
Well, if you just want to jump in and say hi and tell us where you're from. If you're watching from around Australia, New Zealand, maybe I'm just looking at the time. It's a bit early over in Europe and UK. And it's pretty late into the evening in the States as well. But if you want to, we'll hang around for another few seconds and let us know. How do you, Brian, stay so good looking? Oh, Blake Moore. He's actually called you Brain. I think that's right? I think that's a Freudian slip there. He obviously admires your intelligence, Brian. But good on you, Blake, who's a fellow Devonport pastor.
Who's doing such a sensational job. He's just renovated his building, had an opening service for it. Again, putting all those things in a major event. Pastor Blake's doing such an amazing job there at the Devonport Church of Christ. His building is I think the envy of the city. And such a great article in a local newspaper just recently with such a positive voice about our region. And this is paradise.
Hey, Blake, throw a copy of that. Take a snapshot and throw a copy of that article into the Facebook group, mate. I'd love to read that. People to see that's
Yeah.
inspiring. Well done. And Brian, you haven't answered the question yet. How do you stay so good looking?
I look up to my elders and follow their instructions.
Is that a word to Blake? Is it? Is Blake older than you or younger?
We are literally the same age.
No,
I think it's only maybe by about. I'm not even sure if there's a month's difference between our ages. No, dead set serious. Two families, same age, 4 kids each. Quite incredible, actually.
That is fascinating, in the same town as well. Blake has said okay in the comments, but I'm not sure what he's saying. Okay, he's 49 on July 24th. Oh, Brian, you're frozen. Brian's frozen on the screen, so we've captured Brian's good looks in a frozen moment. Well, this might be time to finish up the broadcast. Brian's internet has given up on him, unfortunately. But all good. So thanks for joining us today. If you've got any questions, throw them into the comments. I will put a link to the hub in the comments, and check it out. And thanks, Blake, for posting that article into the Grow Healthy Church Facebook group, or to the hub group, or both places. Throw it all around. I'd love to have a look at it, and I think it'd be encouraging for our pastors as well. Thanks so much for joining us today. Good on you guys. Bless you.